As 2024 comes to an end, 2025 is on the horizon, and that means it is time to start thinking about some of your investments. I know what you're thinking. Maybe you missed out on some good years. Yes, 2024 has been a great year for those people that think that it was going to be a recession year. Well, the market has gone up 26%, and that is an incredible number. You know, it is being fueled by different companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, and a lot of these companies have been growing and kind of lifting the market up even higher. Now, as you may think, it could be too late or maybe not. Now, I continue to invest, in which has reaped some great benefits. My portfolio has increased up to $58,000 this year, which is an amazing feat to itself. That's more than I make. I mean, think about that. If you think about having an average salary of maybe, let's say, 60,000 or maybe a little bit less, and you're getting 58,000 from your portfolio, you can almost quit your job, but not so fast. Today, we're going to talk to you guys about a couple of different ETFs that you could start your portfolio or add to your portfolio. And like me, I invest most of my money into ETFs, and so I have experience with this. And as my portfolio has grown, I have learned and grown with knowing which ETFs could be the right ETF for your portfolio. Hey guys, my name is Steve, and I run the Frugal Expat website, where we try to help people to save more, invest better, and to travel more. And today we're going to talk to you guys about 4 great ETFs to add to your portfolio and to start investing today. It is never too late to start, so why not start today? What is an ETF, you may be wondering? Yes, an ETF is an exchange traded fund, which is like a basket of different stocks, which is traded on the stock market. It's like a mutual fund, but traded like a stock. Now, ETFs have been around since 1999, with the first one being SPY, which tracks the S&P 500. And today, there are numerous ETFs on the market. You have those that can be like growth stocks. You can have those that are dividends. You have those that are small caps, mid caps, large caps. The variations go on and on. And one of the great things about some of these ETFs is a bunch of them track indexes. Like VOO is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, and this tracks the S&P 500, and it is one of the largest ETFs on the market. So if you want to have a piece of the S&P 500 without kind of nitpicking which stock to pick, you can pick them all. And that's the great thing about ETFs. You don't have to really do those analysis of which stock is going to outperform every single year. You can just pick an ETF, invest, continue to invest over and over, year after year after year, and it will grow into a mighty snowball, and it can make you rich. So today we're going to be talking about some of these ETFs and how you can use them to make you maybe a millionaire, maybe you can retire, maybe you're saving for your house. So these ETFs can help you out. And each ETF is different for each person. Maybe an older person is looking for more income, so they like the dividend ETFs or bond ETFs. Maybe someone that is young in their early 20s is looking at those tech and growth ETFs where they have many years. If the ups and downs happen, well, they still have many years to continue to grow, and it will hopefully prosper in that future. So let's start off with our first ETF, and that is the broad market ETF. So these broad market ETFs are ETFs that are focused on the whole market as a whole. So they're adding different sectors, different factors, and some of them track the entire market, and some track like the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies on the US stock market. So companies and ETFs like these could be like Vanguard's VOO, Vanguard's VTI, or even iShares IVV. These are just 3 of the many different types of broad market ETFs you could hold on your portfolio. Now, one of my favorite ETFs that's broad market is VTI, and this is a great foundational ETF. So if you want to only just own one, you could just own VTI, and it holds 3,600 plus companies. That just goes up and down as the market goes up and down. And so that's why I said 3,600 plus. Now, this is a great ETF because it also has a low cost associated with it. The expense ratio is 0.03%. What that means, it costs $3 for every $10,000 in your portfolio. So if you had $1 million portfolio, it would cost you $300. Not so bad. If you think about having a financial advisor that could take anywhere from 1 to 2%, well, 0.03% is not bad at all. So that is one of the reasons I like it. And let's look at some of the other things that are going on with this ETF. Over the last 10 years, it has grown about 12.85%. So that's annually. Now, past returns does not mean future returns. So we're just looking at this the last decade has been kind of pretty good. In the last 5 years, it has grown 15.15%. Now, we try to stay a little bit conservative with our numbers, and we'll say that, it's going to grow in the future, maybe 7 to 8%, just to keep that in mind, to be a little bit more conservative. Now, these numbers, they come up and down, and so just don't fret if the market crashes or it just dips a little bit and then skyrockets later. We can see that in 2022, the market went down about 19%, but in 2023, it went back up to 26-27%. In 2024, it is up 26% as well. So as you can see, the market goes up and down. Now, if we look at some of the breakdowns of what VTI holds, you can see that about 33% of the ETF is in technology stocks. Like I said, it's a lot of growth stocks. Now, you can see there's other sectors in here like healthcare and financials, which is doing pretty good. And this is kind of the reason I like this ETF because it holds a vast variety of different stocks. And like I said, it holds a whole market. So if you want a piece of the entire US stock market, VTI is that ETF. Now, our second top ETF would be growth ETFs. Now, there are various different growth ETFs out there. You have Vanguard's VGT, you have Invesco QQQ, you have Schwab SCHD. These are three of the great growth ETFs. And the reason people like to add growth ETFs in their portfolio is because there's a lot of risk, and with risk comes a lot of return. Now, you can see this in the broad market, as you can see through years. In 2022, the growth sector kind of dropped about 33%, but in 2023, it went up anywhere between 30 to 50%. The NASDAQ 100, which QQQ tracks, went down 33% in 2022, and in 2023, it went up 54%. Those are amazing numbers, but like I said, with great risk comes great return. So you may have lots of big drops. Now, one of my favorites will be QQQ, Invesco Trust QQQ. Now, the reason I say it's one of my favorites because it tracks the NASDAQ 100. It's got not only great growth stocks, which can be tech, and it's got stocks like Costco, and I like Costco, and so this is just a great ETF to hold. It has 100 different holdings, and let's look at some of the historic performance over the last couple of years. Now, if we look at this ETF has been around since 1999, and in the last 10 years, it has gone up 10.28%. And since inception, it has gone up 9.93%. So as you can see, it averages out. There are ups and downs, but over the last 10 years, it has averaged a pretty good amount. And so that's just a way you could also increase some of your money. If you have a good foundational ETF like VOO and VTI, you can add a little bit more growth if you're young like I am. And then you can see if it, with more risk, comes, like I said, more return. Now, the expense ratio is 0.2%, which means on that first $10,000, it's about $20. But if you want it a little bit cheaper of QQQ, you can go with QQQM, which is basically the Invesco Trust QQQ ETF, but cheaper. it has an expense ratio of 0.15%. And I know what you're thinking, what's the difference? Well, as the money grows and grows, that 0.05% could affect your returns. And so the cheaper version just sounds better to me. And so I invest with QQQM, and this is just a great growth ETF to kind of have you growing your money while you have your foundation. So if you want to take a little bit more risk, instead of individual stocks, you can go with this growth ETF. Now, if you are looking for more of a safe route, one of those safe routes could be a dividend ETF. And there are various different dividend ETFs on the market. You have Schwab's SCHD, you have Vanguard's VYM or VIG, and you also have iShares DGRO. Those are just some of the dividend ETFs on the market. There are various different dividend ETFs, so you can pick and choose which one kind of fits your methodology and your strategy. One of my favorites will be SCHD by Schwab. This is the US dividend equity ETF. It tracks the Dow Jones 100 US dividend index. And so over the years, you have 100 different stocks that comprise of this dividend ETF. It is a dividend growth ETF, so it seeks to grow their dividend year upon year, and it adds companies that have grown their dividend over the last 10 years, and it continues to add some of those companies. Now, for those dividend people, the yield is actually pretty good. It is sitting at 3.5%. Now, if you think about that with dividend companies like Coca-Cola has a dividend yield of 3%, SCHD is giving you a great ETF with a bunch of companies, about 100, that give you a yield of 3.5%. Now, sometimes you may be thinking, oh, Steve, I can find some good dividend companies that can do better. Yeah, that is very true. You can do that. But if those companies hit the tank, well, then you have to restart and find some better companies. With SCHD, they're always looking for better companies, and they reorganize every single year to make sure this dividend ETF is working for you and creating a great dividend income for you. It has an expense ratio of 0.06%, making it one of the cheaper ETFs on this list, and it's a great one for those looking for more income towards a retirement. I know this because my father is always looking out for great dividend companies, and SCHD just makes it easy. I mean, you have 100 all in one place. Now, our next dividend ETF would be more like a small caps ETF. And one of my favorites is AVUV. This is the Advantage Small Cap Value ETF. Now, it has an expense ratio of 0.25%. And you may be wondering, Steve, what are these small cap companies? So you have the S&P 500, which are large cap companies. These have large amounts of money, like Apple is worth a little bit over $3 trillion. Same for Microsoft, and Google is approaching that, Nvidia is there. These are large cap companies, so they have large cap. The amounts of money that are in their stock is very large. Small cap, on the other hand, are the small companies on the US stock market that haven't reached kind of that mid or large cap place. And these could have been, like Tesla at one point was a small cap company. Google at one point was a small cap company. So what Advantage does is they gather up some great value companies that are small cap, and they put it in their ETF. Now, it has been around since 2019, and since then, those returns have been around 16.9% over the last 5 years. I said 2019 hasn't been around that long, but for the last 5 years, it has done pretty well. And with a larger, probably the largest expense ratio on this list, it is still a pretty good ETF. If you're looking to diversify your ETF portfolio, you've got that foundational one, you've got growth, maybe you have a little bit of dividends, but you want a little bit more kind of a risk and a little bit more of those small cap value companies, AVUV could be that ETF to add to your portfolio. There are other different small cap ETFs out there. Vanguard's got a couple. iShares has got a couple, and I'll list those down below. So when we're looking at creating some of those best ETF portfolios, we're looking at creating something that works for us. For me, as a kind of young, almost close, getting close to that 40 age, I still like a little bit of growth. I still have my foundational at VTI, but I also have some QQQ and some SCHD with some a little bit of dividends, and I'm also adding AVUV to get that small cap value in there. So when you're looking, those are some things you could be looking at. Now, if you like this content, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because I am trying to grow this channel and I'm trying to provide some great content to help you do better in saving, investing, and even traveling more. So if you like it, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and if you have a favorite ETF, let me know in the comments. I want to see what your favorite ETF is, and I'll do some research and maybe make a video about it. So I hope you have a great day, and you take care, and I'll see you later.